Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 272 based on novel. So let's start. Countless treasures gathered around esteemed Shien Bao and then collapsed. Every time a treasure collapsed, a sliver of white gas would fly out of it. In an instant, rich, white gas surrounded esteemed Shien Bao. The moment Qing Shui's magic arsenal closed in, esteemed Shien Bao opened his arms and shouted, "Magic power Nirvana void." The moment he said those 4 words, the white gas around him charged out like crazy and collided with Qing Shui's magic arsenal. Bang, 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 bang. A great shock echoed across the stars, causing the collapse to worsen. The originally 5,000-kilometer vortex suddenly tore open even more. A lot of cultivators weren't able to dodge fast enough and disappeared into the void. Once one was caught into the vortex formed by the collapse of space, it would be difficult to get out alive. No one would dare to casually enter it. At this moment, space trembled violently, but it had no effect on the moongazer serpent. Its eyes were red and it hated esteemed Shien Bao to the bones for injuring it and killing countless of its smaller moongazer serpents. The ancient god arm that had charged out paused for a moment when Qing Shui appeared. However, the moongazer serpent's eyes were red, and the moment esteemed Shien Bao used the spell, the arm charged forward. At the same time, a laugh echoed across the stars. It was Master Flame's Park, who had shaken off Wudo Chan. His hands formed a seal and dozens of celestial fragments flew out. They covered an area thousands of kilometers wide with a vortex. Rich celestial spiritual energy spread out, causing the vortex to be filled with power as it charged toward esteemed Shien Bao. Celestial Lord Qing Shui, let this old man help you. Wudo Chan's eyes lit up and he followed closely after. He was going to help esteemed Shien Bao get through this life and death crisis. Esteemed Shien Bao's scalp went numb. This battle could be the most dangerous battle of his life, aside from when the celestial realm collapsed. Before him was Qing Shui, behind him was the moongazer serpent, and above him was Master Flame's Park. There was no chance to dodge at all. Facing this moment of crisis, esteemed Shien Bao's powerful celestial origin surged out of his body and formed countless barriers. If I can get through this, I can still live. As the celestial origin energy surrounded him, the moongazer serpent's ancient god arm arrived. There was a bang and the layers of celestial origin barriers all disintegrated. Just at this moment, Qing Shui arrived, bringing along several bolts of red lightning. There was a series of rumbles and esteemed Shien Bao immediately coughed out blood. When Master Flame's Park's celestial fragments arrived, esteemed Shien Bao's body collapsed. His origin soul flew out and was on the verge of collapse, but there was a golden rope around it that constantly offset the impacts until it finally shattered. This upheaval caused the torn space to spread even more. More than 10,000 kilometers of space was now an area of destruction. Countless cultivators were caught inside. The ancient god furnace appeared around Wang Lin and he constantly changed positions. However, his eyes were locked onto the moongazer serpent, waiting for an opportunity. At this moment, the lotus was circling the woman in the blue dress and she was perfectly fine. The golden corpse beside her was also fine, and it had a cold expression. Looking at everything before her, she let out a sigh. She looked at Wang Lin and a complex gaze flashed through her eyes as she muttered, "I don't know if Lord will recognize me, when we meet next time." The lotus had absorbed all the death aura during this battle. Now the death aura spread out, making it look like that lotus was shrouded in a mist. She raised her jade-like hand, pointed at the golden corpse before her, and softly said, "Release seal." The moment those 2 words came out, they seemed to turn corporeal and turned into 2 strange seals that landed on the golden corpse. The golden corpse trembled and the 5 talismans on its head stopped rotating. The golden corpse's eyes shined and the roar of a dragon came from its mouth. Its body unexpectedly expanded and in a flash turned into a dragon. This was a real dragon. It wasn't an illusion, it had flesh and blood. The dragon's scales shined brightly, and in a flash, it rushed out with a roar. The woman in the blue dress let out a sigh and looked at Wang Lin in the distance. Then her body gradually faded until she disappeared. The golden dragon rushed out with a roar and headed straight into the battlefield. On its head, 5 yellow talismans floated there while sending out suppression. The moment it arrived, the golden dragon shined and an ancient voice echoed across the world. Poison flame. One of the 5 yellow talismans immediately emitted flames, and in the blink of an eye, the dragon was surrounded by a sea of flames. These flames were poisonous. The power of this poison was unimaginable. When it closed in, it wrapped around esteemed Shien Bao's almost dissipated origin soul and was about to escape. However, just at this moment, crackling sound came from the unchanging giant wood and a giant crack opened. In a flash of green light, a person walked out. He wore a green robe and looked very good. As he stepped out, he smiled and instantly closed in on the golden dragon. Then his hand formed a seal and pointed at it. An illusory giant wood suddenly appeared around it and smashed down. This old man is the 9th elder of the ancient families of all heaven. How could I let you escape? The golden dragon was blocked by the illusory giant wood, but its eyes started shining. It opened its mouth and black earth came out. This black earth was filled with extremely powerful death aura. Buried earth. The green-robed old man's, Muzi's, right hand turned into a palm and hit the void. Countless thunderous rumbles echoed, creating a storm. He stepped forward as he waved his arm and towering pieces of wood appeared behind him. These pieces of wood were densely packed and immediately formed a dense barrier. You can't escape. With a smile, Muzi waved his right hand. The giant wood pieces behind him flew out, causing the golden dragon to constantly retreat. At this moment, Wu Dochen approached to help, but Qing Shui let out a cold snort and red lightning bolt shot out. Master Flamespark took advantage of this opportunity. His hand moved and the vortex formed by the celestial fragments became several times bigger. In addition, the ancient god arm formed by the Moongazer Serpent also arrived. However, the Moongazer Serpent had lost its rationality. Not only did it hate esteemed Shien Bao, it had also implicated everyone else. At the moment the ancient god arm arrived, the Moongazer Serpent opened its mouth and inhaled. It inhaled so hard that even its body began to tremble. The ancient god arm swept away everything before it and directly grabbed the golden dragon. Holding the golden dragon, the ancient god arm quickly retreated and threw it into the Moongazer Serpent's mouth. From the Moongazer Serpent's point of view, killing this cultivator that injured it wasn't enough to vent its anger. It was going to slowly absorb this cultivator's life force and digest it. After devouring the golden dragon, the Moongazer Serpent no longer had the clarity it had before. Instead of moving forward, it headed into the vortex formed by the collapsed space. Entering the vortex meant entering the void under the collapsed space. This sudden change caused Qing Shui's eyes to light up. He was determined to obtain esteemed Shien Bao's origin soul to learn of the upheaval that occurred in the celestial realm. After seeing the golden dragon and esteemed Shien Bao being devoured by the Moongazer Serpent, he used the suction force from the Moongazer Serpent without hesitation and charged toward its big mouth. Qing Shui wasn't the only one. Wu Dochang was someone from the Shien Palace and he had a good relationship with esteemed Shien Bao. He clenched his teeth and also charged into the Moongazer Serpent's mouth. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had been waiting for this opportunity. Without hesitation, thunder surged out from his body and, borrowing the speed of thunder, he charged at the Moongazer Serpent. Master Flamespark hesitated for a bit while old man Muzi's eyes lit up. He seemed to have something in mind as he entered the Moongazer Serpent's mouth. At this moment, the Moongazer Serpent's giant body had mostly entered the crack and its mouth had already closed. It was about to disappear from this space. Wang Lin closed in on the Moongazer Serpent and landed on its huge body. He stomped his feet and was about to enter the Moongazer Serpent. Master Flamespark naturally saw Wang Lin. He let out a sigh and no longer wasted time. He reached at the void and a fist-sized celestial fragment appeared in his hand and he threw it at Wang Lin. You have made a great contribution. This item should keep you safe. With this, I can also find your location and save you and Qing Shui. He gave up entering. After all, he still had to preside over the war between All Heaven and the Alliance. As for why Wang Lin had gone to enter the Moongazer Serpent, Master Flamespark didn't understand. He could only imagine Wang Lin wanted to save Qing Shui. Perhaps this child has other thoughts. When Wang Lin caught the celestial fragment that shrank, he immediately felt the aura of a Thunderbeast. Aside from the powerful primary soul sealed inside, there was also the Thunderbeast. "Thank you, Senior." Right as Wang Lin spoke, his body disappeared and he entered the Moongazer Serpent. At this instant, the Moongazer Serpent completely sank into the vortex. However, its body was too large, so it expanded the vortex a lot and caused an even wider collapse. As space collapsed in a rumble, Master Flamespark let out a sigh and turned around to look for the scattered all-heaven cultivators. 1. So this word can mean concubine or servant in a self-deprecating way for women. I just thought I explain it so people can get the meaning behind it. The word used is which is used a lot on palace setting, so I'm so glad I'm not translating something set in the Imperial Palace because all those specific position-related words would drive me nuts. After this battle, the battlefield in the northern region had been almost completely torn apart. The surrounding tens of thousands of kilometers became a forbidden zone. The vortex at the center rotated rapidly. Large amounts of dust was sucked toward it and disappeared within. There was no victory or defeat in this battle. For both All Heaven and Alliance, it was both sides probing each other, only the price of this probing was extremely high. The deaths of tens of thousands of cultivators caused both sides to pause for a moment. It was as if both sides were making the perfect preparations for the next battle. On the All Heaven side, large amounts of cultivators retreated and gathered between the western and northern regions to recover. The Alliance was completely quiet, but the news of this battle spread across the Alliance. On this day, a person appeared next to the vortex. He had white hair and wore a yellow robe. If Wang Lin was here, he would recognize him as Huang Long. Huang Long calmly floated in the void and looked at the vortex below him. The powerful suction force collapsed when it got near him. Although this probing battle looks like a draw, in reality, the Alliance lost. Huang Long pondered as he looked at the battlefield. He could imagine the intensity of the war that occurred. The Cultivation Alliance has always been arrogant, and this war occurred due to the matter with Master Flamespark back then. Interesting. I didn't expect that when I accidentally helped Master Flamespark back then, it would give my four divine sect such an opportunity. Huang Long's eyes lit up after he carefully looked at the battlefield and then walked toward the void. I must discuss this matter with the other three. My four divine sect has been waiting for this day for a very long time. I just don't know if the rank 9 cultivation planet behind the Cultivation Alliance will intervene. After all, they only recognized the Cultivation Alliance. Huang Long gradually disappeared as he pondered. I presume the Corpse sect is also pondering this matter. The arrival of All Heaven has broken the battle in the Alliance. There is also that Wang Lin. That child is very good, and letting him participate in the battle will make him a vanguard for my four divine sect. With Master Flamespark's cultivation, he should be able to see my mark. It can be considered a hint of my four divine sect's attitude toward All Heaven. Huang Long smiled as he disappeared among the stars. This battle isn't big enough. Let it become more intense and consume more of the Cultivation Alliance's forces. My four divine sect had been enduring for too long, and it is time for the strength we have been saving up to erupt. There was another universe inside the vortex. This was a boundless world of darkness. There was no light or sound, there wasn't even a sliver of spiritual or origin energy. Life was almost extinct here. This was the void under the shattered space. No one knew why it existed. If space was layers of endless silk, then this was the darkness under the silk. There once were powerful cultivators that wanted to find the root of this void. However, over the countless years, no one could figure out the secret of the void. A cultivator's body would endlessly weaken as if there was an invisible force that constantly sealed and limited a cultivator, making it difficult to survive. Also, because this place was isolated from the world's origin energy, even if a cultivator's own origin energy was self-contained, there will be a day when it's exhausted. Also, under the weakening and sealing effect, the amount they could use was too little. It was as if this place was an area forbidden to cultivators. In the Alliance, only people whose status and cultivation had reached a certain level would know that a long time ago, before the celestial realms collapsed, a heaven-shaking event once occurred here that almost caused the celestial realm to shatter. No one knew if this void had an end. Even peak Nirvana Shatterer cultivators couldn't probe here for too long. After all, no matter how much origin energy they had, there would still be a day when it would be used up. It was as if this void was a natural origin energy isolation formation. It was a completely sealed space that prevented cultivators from shattering it to explore deeper. However, was this really a natural origin energy isolation formation? No one knew the answer to this. However, there was a speculation hidden inside a few people's hearts. They were afraid to touch it due to the fear of the unimaginable disaster it would cause. Which was that? This land of void was not natural but man-made. At this moment, even the Moongazer Serpent's huge body seemed insignificant. After it entered, it curled up and condensed all its power in an effort to absorb all foreign objects in its body. The Moongazer Serpent drifted in this endless darkness without any direction. It was as if the mysterious force here had no impact on the Moongazer Serpent. Wang Lin was inside the Moongazer Serpent's body. He was still holding the celestial fragment Master Flame's Spark gave him. His divine sense swept past it and he left his own imprint. At the same time, a roar came from the fragment and a bolt of thunder shot out. The thunder scattered before Wang Lin. As the thunder arched in all directions, the silver-horned Thunderbeast appeared. There was a chain around its neck and a lot of talismans were hanging on its body. It looked a bit messy. Even the silver horn had a small hole pierced through it through some unknown method and an iron hoop was put through it. Aside from the primary soul sealed within the celestial fragment Master Flame's Spark gave Wang Lin, there was also the Thunderbeast. When the Thunderbeast saw Wang Lin, its eyes became misty and all the injustice it had suffered over the years erupted. It had been many years since Wang Lin had seen the Thunderbeast, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This Thunderbeast's appearance was simply too strange. He took a few steps closer to the Thunderbeast and looked at the iron hoop on the silver horn. He couldn't help but touch the hoop with his hand. This caused the injustice in the Thunderbeast to become even stronger, and it let out a low roar. Wang Lin wryly smiled and softly said, "These last several years have been hard for you." He saw the Thunderbeast continue to growl as if it wanted to tell all the misery it had suffered. Wang Lin rubbed his nose and patted the Thunderbeast's head as he said, "Actually, you look very good." This was originally meant to comfort it, but the moment he said it, the Thunderbeast no longer growled and suddenly turned its neck, causing the chain around its neck to jingle. The random paper talismans on its body also shook as it looked at Wang Lin with doubt in its eyes. It was obvious it was uncertain about Wang Lin's words. It had heard the same thing from Master Flame's Spark too many times. Every time Master Flame's Spark saw it, he would say similar words. Wang Lin wryly smiled. He really didn't know how to comfort the Thunderbeast. He was very sympathetic to the Thunderbeast in his heart, especially after seeing its appearance. Wang Lin imagined all the suffering the Thunderbeast had experienced in all these years. However, the strength of the Thunderbeast shocked Wang Lin. It was obviously a lot stronger than before. Now, with the Thunderbeast staring at him, Wang Lin could only nod to indicate that what he said was true. After seeing that the Thunderbeast was still filled with doubt, Wang Lin let out a sigh and touched his bag of holding. The celestial sword flew out and he flicked it, causing Shuligua to fly out. Without Wang Lin sending out an order, Shuligua already knew of the situation from the connection he had with Wang Lin. After he appeared, he couldn't help but fiddle with the iron hoop on the Thunderbeast's horn. He couldn't hold it in and laughed out loud. The Thunderbeast immediately let out an angry roar and thunder covered its body. This was especially true for its silver horn, where thunder instantly gathered and shot out at Shuligua. Shuligua was so scared, he let out a scream and quickly retreated. However, the thunder was too fast, so a trace of it landed on him. Shuligua shivered and quickly said, "Don't be impulsive, I just liked the iron hoop so much that I couldn't help but touch it." Wang Lin's divine sense spread out to observe the surroundings, and he completely ignored Shuligua and the Thunderbeast. The reason Wang Lin let Shuligua out was to comfort the Thunderbeast because Wang Lin really didn't know what to do with this matter. It was unknown how Shuligua and the Thunderbeast communicated together, but after a few words, the Thunderbeast's expression became better and the suspicion in its eyes gradually faded. Not long after, there was actually pride in its eyes, and it let out a roar and happily communicated with Shuligua. In the end, it allowed Shuligua to sit on its back and didn't even care if Shuligua fiddled with the iron hoop. It shook its body as if it was extremely satisfied with its appearance. After Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense and saw this, he couldn't help but admire Shuligua. When Wang Lin found the black blade in the Suzaku tomb, Wang Lin noticed that Shuligua had this talent. He didn't know how Shuligua had persuaded the blade, but it was inseparable from Shuligua for a long time. At this moment, Shuligua was touching the iron hoop and thinking in his heart, "It's still your grandpa Shu who is better." I was instantly able to beat down this fiend. While feeling complacent, Shuligua pulled the iron hoop with a bit too much force, causing the Thunderbeast to roar in anger. Shuligua quickly gently patted the Thunderbeast and said some more things. The Thunderbeast's eyes beamed as it shook its own head and looked at itself. The previous arrogance and indifference had completely vanished. Looking at all of this, Wang Lin could only let out a sigh. He still remembered the Thunderbeast's unyielding gaze and arrogant roars that shook the world. However, looking at the Thunderbeast now, there was no trace of its former self. If not for the fact that he could feel that this Thunderbeast was formed by the war chariot, Wang Lin would have thought this was the wrong Thunderbeast. Feeling regrettable, Wang Lin waved his right hand and the Thunderbeast turned back into a ray of light that returned to his bag. As for Shuligua, he immediately retreated and his face was filled with flattery as he said, "Master, it has been a long time since little Shu has come out, so please don't make me go back. I see that there are no dangers here, so how about you let me have some free time?" Wang Lin looked at Shuligua and calmly said, "This place is far more dangerous than you think, so go back inside." With that, Wang Lin waved his hand. Shuligua was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. However, he was already cursing in his heart. On the surface, though, Shuligua didn't dare to reveal any of the anger, and he was put back into the bag by Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body flickered as he moved through the Moongazer Serpent. His divine sense surrounded his body and he moved with extreme caution. However, he never stopped moving and almost left after images behind. Wang Lin was very familiar with the Moongazer Serpent, so he could head to where he wanted to without thinking. If it was in the past, Wang Lin wouldn't move like this. After all, there was a large number of smaller Moongazer Serpents inside back then. However, those smaller Moongazer Serpents had all died. As a result, the danger within the Moongazer Serpent had lessened greatly. As he moved forward, Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. After he entered the Moongazer Serpent, he noticed that there was something wrong from the moment the Moongazer Serpent went through the vortex. Although there wasn't much origin energy here before, he could at least feel some. However, right now he couldn't detect any at all. This made his heart sink. If that was the only issue, he wouldn't care too much, but not only could he not feel any origin energy, even the origin energy inside his body was slowly disappearing. This discovery shocked him greatly. He quickly checked himself and found out that it wasn't disappearing but being suppressed by an invisible force. This suppression was like a seal, and although it was slow, if he stayed here long enough, it would completely seal all his origin energy. This has nothing to do with the Moongazer Serpent, it has to do with where the Moongazer Serpent is. If the inside of the Moongazer Serpent is like this, then I fear that my origin energy would disappear even faster outside. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as his right hand formed a fist and he threw a punch. A moment later, his eyes shined brightly. The power of the ancient god body isn't affected. Thanks to this, I might be able to hold some advantages here. While pondering, Wang Lin charged straight ahead. This seal is similar to the talismans from the Forsaken Immortal clan. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he carefully controlled the origin energy in his body. A while later, he arrived near where the bone was. After taking a look, Wang Lin's expression became serious. The Moongazer Serpent's bone originally emitted a large amount of spiritual energy, however, all of it was gone now. It looks like the seal doesn't only suppress origin energy but also spiritual energy. Anything that can be absorbed by cultivators will be sealed. However, I have the body of an ancient god, so it doesn't really matter to me. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with coldness as he followed along the bone of the moongazer serpent. Since this place has this much effect on cultivators, it will have similar effect on the others. So the longer we stay here, the bigger the advantage I hold. Wang Lin stuck to the bone and headed straight to where he found the child ancient god. As he moved, a loud rumble and violent tremble came from ahead. As soon as the trembling came, Wang Lin felt his footing become unstable, as if the moongazer serpent was moving. Wang Lin moved forward while sticking to the wall of flesh. The sound became louder and there were occasionally shockwaves from spells, which made Wang Lin stop. His expression was a bit hesitant, and a moment later, he went into the flesh wall on the side. He moved like a fish and made a big circle before slowly moving forward again. His divine sense was spread out and he carefully observed his surrounding. A moment later, Wang Lin's divine sense narrowed and stopped extending into the flesh wall. Instead, he closely observed the outside of the flesh wall. After taking a look, Wang Lin retreated without hesitation until he was near the moongazer serpent's bone again. His eyes lit up as he thought to himself, I'm no match for any of the people that entered, but I also have my advantages. The more origin energy they consume, the bigger my advantage. The place that Wang Lin saw with this divine sense was an open area about 1,000 feet wide. Although that area was filled with moongazer serpents, they were all retreating. And there are 2 people there. Wudo Chan's face was pale and his purple robe was in tatters. He was in a sorry state. However, he stood there giving off a powerful aura like an unsheathed sword and wouldn't allow anyone to get close. Behind him was an opening in the flesh wall. It was the entrance to where the child ancient god was located. On the opposite of Wudo Chan was the green-robed Yi Muzi. Although his face was also slightly pale, his eyes were calm. Fluctuations of spells filled the area between them. Apparently, there was a brief but fierce fight. Although Wang Lin's divine sense was only inside that room for an instant, it was not able to escape the 2 of them. However, neither Wudo Chan nor Yi Muzi cared about Wang Lin. Little kid, we have limited origin energy here. This old man's target isn't that dogs hit Celestial. So why are you here blocking me instead of helping Shien Bao fight against Qing Shui? Isn't what you're doing just extremely absurd? Yi Muzi said to Wudo Chan. Wudo Chan didn't respond, he just coldly stared at Yi Muzi. He raised his hand and a 5-colored bubble floated above his palm. His gaze fell on the bubble and he calmly said, I don't care about how esteemed Shien Bao is doing, but as long as I'm here, no one can enter. The green-robed Yi Muzi had a gloomy expression and let out a cold snort as he stepped out. His right hand formed a seal and a giant log appeared before him. This giant log took up all the space here and smashed forward. I can't waste too much origin energy here, so I must finish this battle quickly. Then I'll go deep into the moongazer serpent and complete the task the head elder gave. The giant log before the green-robed old man charged out. At this moment, Wudo Chan waved his hand and a 5-colored bubble flew out and collided with the giant log. At this instant, the bubble exploded with a bang. The giant log that appeared trembled and disintegrated along with the bubble. A flash of coldness appeared in Yi Muzi's eyes. He waved his right sleeve and a finger-sized piece of green log flew out. The moment it flew out, Yi Muzi shouted, "One log, one realm." After he spoke, the green log suddenly trembled and instantly grew. Then the green gas suddenly spread across the area. When the green gas filled the area, it was as if this area was isolated from the rest of the world, like the gas had formed its own realm. It created a seal that surrounded Wudo Chan. Taking this opportunity, Yi Muzi moved in a flash and bypassed Wudo Chan. He charged into the hole and disappeared. Wudo Chan was surrounded by the green gas, but only 3 breaths after Yi Muzi left, explosions came from inside the gas. Wudo Chan was creating bubbles and blowing them up. The explosion of each bubble caused some of the green gas to dissipate. After 3 breaths of time, all the green gas had dissipated. He looked at the hole Yi Muzi went into and revealed a smile. With one step, he charged into the hole. Wang Lin stood near the Moongazer Serpent's bone and decided to sit down. He slapped his bag of holding and a sword flew out. Wang Lin's hands formed a seal, and he split a portion of his divine sense into the sword. He pointed with this finger and the sword flew straight ahead. Wang Lin's divine sense surrounded the sword and it continued to slowly move forward. It flew into the hole without hesitation and continued to push forward. Right now my divine sense is inside the sword, so if it's destroyed, it won't matter. Also, which of these people can't collapse a star with a stomp of their feet? Aside from senior brother Qing Shui, I'm merely an ant in their eyes. However, they don't know that my ancient god power isn't affected here. Let them fight it out first, and once they don't have much origin energy left, I, who was an ant in their eyes, might be able to fish some advantages. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he controlled the flying sword and began to ponder. The flying sword slowly flew into the hole. Bursts of spell fluctuations came from ahead and made it difficult for Wang Lin to control the flying sword, due to his cultivation level. Fortunately, the suppression force existed, and it allowed him to just barely control it to fly forward. Shortly after, the sword with Wang Lin's divine sense exited the hole. What appeared before him was a large vortex that slowly rotated and gave out an endless suction force. Wang Lin knew that the child ancient god was inside the vortex. Now that there were no traces of Qing Shui, Yi Muzi, and the others, Wang Lin pondered for a bit. Then he controlled the flying sword to charge directly into the vortex without any hesitation. This video will end here.